In a world where super steels seem to reign, normal steels are becoming a rarity more and more. However, what is a super steel? Is it real or is it all a big myth? We tested a knife last week which has no super steel and performed almost equal to super steels. We filmed that video after we made this video, sadly. Anyway, today we're putting an end to all the myths and gossips. Spoiler alert, the super steel haters have a very valid point. Find out after this quick sponsor. This video is brought to you by Manscaped. Do you have Santa's beard between the legs and two soft fuzzy eggs? I think it's time for the performance package by Manscaped. Shaving the lawn while leaving your child's future unscathed. Afterwards, a bit of crop reviver and crop preserver and you'll make the spouse happy and not unnerve her. She always calling you her big bear. Maybe it's time for the weed whacker to get rid of that nose and ear hair. Time for that Shears 2.0 stainless steel nail kit. You'll be a true gent this Christmas and she'll like it. Go to Manscaped now and use code DBK to get 20% off plus 2 free gifts. Believe me, it's the way.
What is the problem here? What is the problem here?
Well, I see a lot of people being very skeptical about the term super steel. They say super steels don't exist. Super steels is a myth. Okay. Yeah?
Okay.
Could you please explain what is a super steel?
So the word super steel is not defined in any dictionary. Yeah. So in that way, the term super steel does not exist. Okay?
Yeah. It's not a real thing.
Commonly known, a super steel is a powder steel. It's a new technique, or anno 2022.
It's an advanced technique.
It's an advanced technique, yeah, it's already quite old. Yeah. But it's an advanced technique to get a better mix of molecules in the same kind of steels. Yeah. So you don't get, like, if you would put it on a microscope, you don't get lumps of the same molecules. You get every molecule nicely divided in the steel.
Wow, that sounds super nice.
And what does that do, Mickey? That makes sure that you don't, chromium, for example, gives brittleness to a knife, but also makes a knife stainless. Yeah. But with this new CPM technique, or powder technique, you can mix the chromium much better into the steel, and then it doesn't get as brittle. Yeah. So you get a super stainless steel.
And I believe that you can also have some more complicated steel mixes.
Yeah, more like tungsten, whatever.
You can
we don't know the exact details.
You can add them in a more efficient way.
Yeah, and even stuff that you cannot add in a traditional way. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
People also say, hey, yeah, well, there are a lot of negative points about super steels because they are more brittle and stuff.
Hard to sharpen.
We are here now today to. Actually, we have the opinion that super steels do exist and that they are a valuable asset to this knife world. Yeah. Because it is just a new time, and I think eventually super steels are going to become normal steels, and then you're going to get omega steels, which are going to become the new super steels. And that's what I actually think, because the technology is going to evolve more and more and more, and all the old steels are just going to become more or less obsolete for knives, especially at that high price range with some custom knife makers still charging $300 for 1095 steel. I think it's pretty insane.
Yeah, and
it's pretty insane.
If I can tell the other side of that story.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, some knife workers do a lot of handwork, traditional stuff.
So it's more like kind of an art.
Yeah, it's kind of an art style. But also, I mean, D2 steel, you see it in a lot of Chinese knives.
Yeah.
But then I also have the 18 Leuke, which is a €400 knife.
Yeah.
It has D2 steel. When I first saw that, I was like, but it does have D2. I don't know if we can be really that positive about it.
Yeah.
And then when I tested the knife, it just blew me away. Yeah. Because these traditional steels that have been around for a very long time, the really good knife makers, and those are, maybe hard to find. Yeah. But they really know how to get the best out of a simple steel, and then you can still achieve amazing results.
It is pretty insane. If you also look at TRC, what they do with LMAX is completely different to what other people do with LMAX, where you see much worse result with Elmex steel as that TRC uses them.
Yeah.
And
heat treatment is everything.
Yeah. So you cannot just use a so-called super steel and say that something is a good knife.
No, exactly.
You also saw that with the Magna Cut knife with Bark River that suddenly broke, whereas another Magna Cut knife, which was the same thickness, really did not break.
Yeah.
There are so much benefits with these newer super steels. Let's say Elmex. So, if you compare that to 1095, well, Elmex is of course stainless.
Yeah.
But the edge retention of that knife is probably about 15 times more than 1095 or 01.
Yeah.
And even though it is much less tough, it is not going to break with batoning when heat treated right. It is not going to break with any knife test, but it is going to hold that edge for about 10 times or 15 times as long, and it is going to become much sharper when you sharpen it in the right way. So
because the steel is much finer, the steel grain is much finer, you can get that apex on the knife edge. You can get much thinner than on a traditional steel.
So then, for a knife, especially a smaller knife, a super steel is such a big benefit compared to older steels like 01 or 1095.
And I think that adds to our philosophy because. I mean, we know Essie, good guys, but they have a philosophy that you need to be able to sharpen your knife everywhere in a survival situation. So that you have, maybe if you find a brick or you find a river stone, you can sharpen your knife on that. You know, that's a philosophy. I cannot disagree with it, but it's not what I like. No. Because in my personal opinion, a knife or survival situation lasts for 99% around 3 days maximum. So around 1 hour, I would say, to 3 days maximum.
Yeah.
And maybe there is 1% that is longer than that, and most of them are screwed whether they have a knife or not. And in my opinion, I would rather have a knife that just stays sharp and cares for me for those 3 days maximum, than a knife that I would have to, you know, keep a watch on, that it doesn't rust, that it doesn't dull, I mean, a dull knife is a dangerous knife, you know? So for me, I'd rather have a knife that just takes care of me 3 days.
And to be honest, you better make sure that you are never ever in your life gonna be in a survival situation.
No.
So invest all that money in GPS. And bring food. Just make sure you never ever find yourself in a survival situation, and then you don't have to worry about the knife saving you. It is just don't ever. So I'm not gonna base my opinion on a knife on a 0.0000001% chance that I'm ever gonna be in a survival situation.
No.
I'm just gonna base my opinion on the knife, how I use my knives, and that is in bushcraft and outdoor activities.
Exactly, but Mikkie, even though that is that 0.1% chance,
0.001,
but a lot of our tests we do batoning and stuff. Mostly because we like it. Because we like batoning.
I get a kick. I get a bit horny because of it. No,
but seriously. I just like to know that my knife, that even if it is a slim chance, it is my life.
In the most extreme,
you know, it is my life. So even if it is the smallest chance. We're talking about a life here. So in that case, I do like to know that my knife can take batoning.
And I think it's also cool to know.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the combination of batoning, having a good edge, being extremely hard, tough, that is something that you find in a lot of these super steels. That's why I like it.
However, one very important thing to know for everybody watching here, and this is where the video gets interesting if you have made it so far into the video. And that is, we still like 1095 steel. Controversy.
I even still like 01 steel.
Man, Tops, they make a lot of 1095 steels. Big knives. And hey, in the big knife segment, there is a lot of reason to still use these ingot steels. These high carbon steels. Because 1095, Martin, we have seen it chop through a steel pan, not aluminium, ladies and gentlemen, steel. And it keeps an edge, which is
bones.
Crazy. It will not break, and you want that for a bigger knife. You don't really actually want Elmex for a very big knife.
And also, the bigger the knife, the less you have to care about the edge retention because you got the swing.
Yeah, so it would seem a little redundant to use a super steel like CPM 3V for a very, very big knife because it's just going to be very expensive, and it's not actually going to give you a lot of benefits. So in that case, I do agree with the people that a super steel is maybe a little too extreme.
So then we're going to come to the point does it still make sense to make a smaller knife in a traditional steel? I say yes.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, because you know what? You are not going to make a super steel knife 10 euros.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not, let me take one big example. It's not 10 euros, it's around 70 euros. The Terefa Yakari Puko.
Yeah.
This is a knife that is completely indestructible.
Yeah.
It's around 70 euros. Something that I would depend my life on any day of the week.
Yeah.
It is just an incredible knife, and I really, really love the knife, even though it doesn't have a super steel.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are other benefits. Like it's I think costs are the biggest benefit.
Yeah.
Then it is easy to sharpen, although you have to sharpen it more often.
Yeah. But I think one of the biggest benefits is the easiness of handling the steel for the knife makers. So for custom knife makers, for smaller knife companies who like to make more niche knives, maybe make more kind of arty knives or whatever, or quality knives, but with the hand, not everybody can heat treat super steels because that heat treatment process is very difficult, which makes it very expensive as well.
And you cannot forge it yourself. So the knife makers who practice the true art of knife making cannot even use super steels because they cannot forge it.
Yeah.
But Mikkie, I also want to add something else, and that is, I remember the days when we had as a trapper.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a lot of knives back then, and I just remember that I had so much fun also taking care of the knife. I didn't want it to rust, so I oiled it.
Yeah.
I sharpened it quite a lot of time. Every time it had a little nick in it or reflection.
Not racist.
I sharpened it again, and that did bring me really close to that knife.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of knives. We don't like to spend hours and hours of sharpening every day.
No.
But if you have one or two knives and you don't mind the sharpening, it does have character to it.
The magic of that knife really was that no matter what you did with that knife, with a few strokes, it was just it was crazy sharp again.
Exactly.
And I mean that brings us to maybe the last point: is a super steel necessary? Well, absolutely not. It is not necessary for the whole evolution of mankind. We have used knife out of stone, bone, bronze, and steel, and you name it. Yeah. And you just need something with a sharp edge and treat it.
It's funny because if you know that we went from stone to bronze, you can make the conclusion that the toughness back then was more important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that is definitely true. But so of course it's not necessary, but it really has a nice function. And why not in 2022, 2023? Have a technology that is cutting edge, pun intended. Why not use it to our advantage? Why not, if you have a small knife with 15 times the edge retention, why not make that knife? Yeah. And if you don't have all that money to spend it on that steel, or you don't like the aesthetics or whatever, buy a cheaper knife because it's going to do exactly the same, because eventually the grind of the knife is going to be more important.
Exactly.
The shape of the handle is going to be more important, because I have a Enzo Trapper in Elmex steel and I have an Enzo Trapper in 01 steel, and I, hands down, every time if I had to choose one of these Enzo Trappers, I would always choose the 01 version.
Yeah,
why? Because it has a nicer handle.
It
allows me to do everything with a knife better than all the others. I have a VG10. A VG10 NL5, that is not a super steel. That's just a stainless steel. Actually, I find it kind of a crap steel. I don't really like VG10. But I would choose that knife every day if I just had to take one knife out of my collection, because I like the way it holds, I like the way it feels, and I like the way it looks. And that's not a super steel.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mikkie.
Thank you very much. Also, I'm a very intelligent guy because I play chess now, and I'm looking steps ahead,
But you are talking with two knife nerds here, steel nerds, that started this channel because we wanted to find out the limit of steel.
Yeah.
So we got like this crazy narrow vision on super steels.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to see what is possible with steel.
Yeah.
And you know that's why we don't make a lot of videos about traditional old steels, because everybody knows how they react.
Yeah.
We want to see these new cutting edge steels in action.
Yeah.
We want to see what they can do.
Yeah, because as a kid we always had this fantasy that a knife could cut through a stone and then could still shave.
Yeah.
And we are beginning to reach a point where that is almost possible.
Yeah, or at least a brick.
Yeah. No, maybe not a stone or rock, but well, a brick, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even that is like, I mean, cutting through a pen.
Yeah.
And still being able to cut paper. And sadly, that wasn't a super steel that was able to do that, but that is like the fantasy I had as a kid, that a knife would be able to do that.
But I think that example that you're giving also shows that a really good heat treated traditional steel can outperform a worse heat treated super steel. So
it is not all the name, you know?
No.
It's not all the steel, it's also the heat treatment and everything. Well, I think that kind of sums it all up.
Yeah.
Is it necessary? No. Is it very nice to have? Yes. Has it got benefits? A lot. But has it got drawbacks? Yes.
Yeah. And one more final warning is, you know, like with my Loku D2, it is an amazing knife, but in these steels, the gamble is just a lot bigger.
Yeah.
You're taking a bigger risk because everybody can work these steels, but there is a very small % of those people who can do it really well.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you like this video. See you on the other side.
I hope you also subscribe.
Oh, and comment for the algorithm, because, geez.
And I hope to see you back next week.
Bye.